There we go. All right. So I'm going to take a lead on talking about the customized employment planning meetings, which we're just going to jump in when I forget things because that will inevitably happen. But I'm excited to talk about these meetings because I feel like they're very practical and useful. So the first is just kind of showing you the tenants about this, and this would be a good thing to refer to like later on. I feel like sometimes when we look at them and we don't yet know what it is we're kind of talking about yet, then it might not make as much sense, but it definitely will. And so I recommend you guys taking some time to look at this. But we're essentially looking to hold a meeting with the job seeker and everyone available within the job seeker's support team, or anyone who has a vested interest in seeing them be successful with employment. So it's a time that you really can kind of pull the team together, like everyone who, well, maybe not everyone, but most of the people that you have connected with through the discovery process. It's a time to pull them together and get people on the same page. And it's really a time to kind of pull in the power of that team and really use each other's networking and social capital and really brainstorm to kind of solidify some of the things that you've mapped out as far as well, you've already, by this point you will have already established the vocational themes, but now you're wanting to kind of map out a plan for job development, and this meeting really helps you plan the next steps. And it's nice because this is the part where you don't have to do things on your own, but you can get input and ideas from others. And it's also a good time to just kind of reignite momentum, because sometimes, you know, that momentum might lag a little bit through different times of the process. So this gets everybody re-excited about the possibilities and the next steps to come along the path to employment. So these meetings can come about and kind of answer some questions that people might have about discovery taking a long time. It can be just really a time like this. I've seen it happen a lot where there's just team members that just aren't feeling like they're on the same page, and that's where these meetings can really feel helpful and be a chance to explain the work that you're doing and kind of share the vision that you and the job seeker have to help get everyone on the same page. And it's also the list of 20. So for the 3 vocational themes, you're going to be thinking of 20 places or businesses within the community that could be explored. And that's a lot. That's a lot for one person to think of on their own. So this employment planning meeting is a time to utilize other people's ideas and connections to really flesh out those lists of 20, so that you don't have to do that all on your own. So this is like just kind of talking about what the employment planning is and what it is not. So it is a way to gather the team and get folks on the same page. It should be a meeting that is positive and engaging. And I'll mention this a couple of times, but there's going to be people, and maybe even you yourself as the employment specialist is feeling like there's challenges, and it's not that we're wanting to ignore the challenges. That's not um what I'm suggesting, but during this particular event, during this planning meeting, it's a time to really focus on the positive and not bring up the challenges or um people's, like, what they perceive as a challenge. There is time for that, but it's just not in this meeting. This meeting should be outcome oriented, and you will, with if you kind of go through the process of this planning meeting, you will leave with actionable next steps for everyone, not just for you as the employment specialist, but for everyone within the team. It's a structured meeting, but there's also some, I'm like everything within this work, there is some flexibility and some customization that can happen. And it's a foundation used to customize an employment relationship between the job seeker and the employer. So it's different because it really shouldn't be attached to other meetings. A lot of times people get this idea of like, oh, we're gonna be doing the job seekers IEP. Let's do this at the same time. It really should be separate. And you'll see why, because within this meeting, there are some very intentional methods or strategies to work through in this meeting. So it would just, and it'll kind of be a lot all in its own. So to attach it to another meeting like an IEP or IP would just kind of be overwhelming, not just for the job seeker, but for anyone within the team. It shouldn't be something that's just boring. You should make it as interactive and as engaging as possible. It's not a format for people to come and moan and groan. And that, I'm just gonna speak to that again, and I will multiple times throughout this learning session, but I feel like when you bring people together in a room, it's just our natural instincts to kind of feel like, okay, so these are the things I'm concerned about. And this is what I see that is not working well. And again, I'm not wanting to dismiss that completely. Of course not, because some of that moaning and groaning might be in connection with legitimate concerns, but we're gonna tell you how to encourage the team before this meeting takes place, that there will be, if they have concerns, if they have things that they need to complain about, there can be time before the meeting or there can be time after the meeting, but let's not do that during the meeting. And it's not a time to really focus on the lack of progress or to kind of place blame, or if you're seeing like what maybe if there's things that were expected to have taken place or happened by now, it's it's not really a time to place blame or focus on the lack of progress at that point. And it's not determining whether a person can or should work. That's already that's not what this meeting is. And there might be folks that show up and are still uncertain about whether or not employment is a good fit for the individual. So there will be a chance to, and we'll walk you through just kind of establishing and communicating information before this meeting takes place, so that people do have expectations about what this meeting is and what it's not, and just really being kind of open about this isn't a time to determine whether a person can or should work. It's a time to be supportive and encouraging of employment, and it's not a time to focus on deficits or challenges. So these are 5 W's: who, what, why, when, and how about a planning meeting. So who it is the job seeker and their team with the customer employment specialist, you, like the employment specialist, as the facilitator. What is it? It's an opportunity to summarize the work to date and plan for next steps. So to really kind of, at this point, you've been doing a lot with the job seeker, and maybe you've reached out to other team members for informational interviews, or even maybe they've been part of some activities, but this is a time to really summarize to the group as a whole the work that has been done and what has been discovered about the job seeker, and why it's a time to collaborate and develop action steps to move forward. And trust me, this employment planning meeting is a really valuable step for you as the employment specialist. So you might be thinking, well, is that really necessary? But all the ones that I've participated in have been very helpful, and there's just been a lot of good outcomes, whether it's developing action steps or just the value of getting people on the same page. Several times it's been during these employment planning meetings that I've seen family members finally, when they see that their job seeker has this whole team of individuals there to support them in this journey towards employment, only then do they really start to feel like, wow, okay, I think I really am on board and comfortable with my person pursuing employment, because only then do they really start to gain a vision, like a vision that feels possible and meaningful to them as a family member, or maybe it's even someone else on the team. But I've just happened to see it happen with family members several times during these planning meetings. And then when to hold these planning meetings? Within 2 weeks of completing the vocational profile. So that's important to have that vocational profile done before this meeting, because you're going to be sharing it and kind of summarizing again all of the information that you've discovered with the individual, with the rest of the team. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but these meetings, you don't have to just hold one of them. You can hold more of them, because they can also be a really really helpful strategy for when or if the team is stuck, or even you as the employment specialist is feeling stuck and unsure what the next steps are. I've even seen meetings be held when the home visit is done, but you're trying to really kind of figure out some meaningful discovery activities. Like a shorter version of this employment planning meeting could take place. But ideally, it's great when you can hold an employment planning meeting like a little while shortly after you've completed the vocational profile. And then how are these to be held? With excitement, an open mind, and a willingness to connect with people. So again, just kind of the meeting should be held when the discovery process is complete and when you've kind of solidified that vocational profile. This meeting is a perfect segue to transition and connect discovery to job development and really access that the social capital that exists within the team and engage people who care about the job seeker's success. It really helps you to map out a strong customized job development plan. That's why I think you as an employment specialist, once you kind of experience this, you'll be able to see and feel the value of these meetings, because it's really to help you make a solid plan for job development. So let's talk about preparing for the meeting, because there is some prep work to be done prior to this meeting in order to make it useful. And I've done these meetings where it's been, fairly evident that there hasn't been as much prep work before the meeting, and that it's okay, like you can get through it, but really when you put in a little bit of prep work beforehand, it will make the meeting a lot more streamlined, and I think that you'll reach those outcomes and action items a lot smoother if you do some prep work beforehand. Okay, so talking and working with the job seeker before the meeting, spend some time with them and kind of, let them know about this meeting, let them know who is going to be participating in this meeting. And this is important because the job seeker really should have say, maybe there's somebody within their support team that you haven't identified as being just not supportive of the ideas of the job seeker, but the job seeker just, maybe they don't want a person there because they know that they won't support their ideas. So really try to get to talk with them and get a feel for who the job seeker is comfortable with inviting to this meeting, and but let them know that it should, ideally it's their closest supporters, and kind of explain to them that this planning meeting is to summarize what the work that's been done thus far, and plan the next steps. And also let them know if there's going to be any sensitive information regarding ideal conditions or the supports that help the job seeker be at their best. Let them know that if that information will be shared. Let them know that it will be shared in a positive way, but maybe check and see if they would rather discuss more sensitive information in a smaller setting, and then that can be planned for later. And then ask them what ground rules might the job seeker have? What's going to help them be the most comfortable in this meeting? Maybe um, maybe there's something very specific that maybe they they want to establish, like, I don't want to discuss jobs around fast food, or, and that's just an example, but maybe they have really something very specific that they don't want the team to discuss, because maybe they've had someone, a support person who has kept trying to, guide them into a particular path, but that the job seeker does have an interest, and so maybe they just don't want that brought up during this meeting, and that's valid. So maybe they will, maybe they won't, but make sure that you ask them if the if they have any ground rules that they want to establish within this meeting. So this is just a little bit more, be thoughtful about how the job seeker you're supporting communicates, and really be mindful and intentional about how they can participate in the meeting. And this might be where there is some prep work to be done. Maybe they communicate best using an iPad or pictures, or a pre-created list of phrases or just thoughts that they want to bring to the meeting, but that it would be helpful for them to kind of have that created before the actual meeting. So really just think about that and ask them, and let them know that there is options for them to participate, because that really should be prioritized. And you, as the employment specialist, let them know that you want to prioritize their best method for communication. And it's important because I've seen it so many times, and I myself have been guilty of this. When all the professionals get in a room and family members, we sometimes just feel like, we might have a lot of excitement, and we might just charge forward with our ideas without leaving space for the job seeker to really get a chance to express and communicate in whatever form that is best for them. But we need to, especially in always, but especially within this process and in this meeting, make sure that we are not discluding the job seeker or leaving them out of conversation.
Well, I was just going to add that, Tony, I know that we spent a lot of time talking about how the job seeker that you're working with communicates. Dora, you just talked yesterday about how, the job seeker that you're working with seems to really struggle with that self-advocacy or direction. So this is something, right, that is going to take a lot of prep work. And again, this is as much as you can get, people to participate. It can be tough if there's kind of been this like lifetime of looking to somebody else for that direction, or somebody else has kind of always taken that lead. but it's an opportunity, right, to say, this is your meeting. This is, a chance for you to, really prepare and, talk about all the things that we've done together. Um, and really, and be as engaged as possible. And, and if you're doing more of the talking, and that's something that you guys have agreed to, some ways that you can, engage or make sure that you're including that person, if that's what you agree to, is like, that's what we talked about, just confirming several times throughout, the meeting. I've also been in meetings, in planning meetings where the person just really struggles with sitting in meetings about them. So they'll kind of participate as long as they can, and then they kind of get up and leave. And that's okay too, as long as there's kind of been that discussion ahead of time. You really just kind of want to do that work so that it is very much, person driven as possible.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Cal.
you. I'm glad you brought up the part about, right, there might be an occasion, or you might be working with an individual who just, it's not a good fit for them to sit, and they don't want to sit through a whole meeting, and maybe it makes them anxious to be in a setting where people are just like, sharing ideas, but just make sure you're allowing every option that you can. This is a little bit more prepping that's specific to helping prepare the job seeker. Is the job seeker worried about conflict with family members or certain staff? And is there anyone that they do not want to attend? I mentioned that before, but just, I think it's easy for us to assume that there's good dynamics and good relationships, but it's important that we ask, because there's there's always possibility that we don't fully understand the relationship, or what happens at home, or when you as the employment specialist is not around. So asking if there's anyone who they don't want to attend is valid. And then you can give some examples of the types of questions that might be asked. Let them know that the staging record will be reviewed. The visual resume will be reviewed, and the vocational profile will be reviewed in this meeting. So just kind of letting them know the type of information that will be shared. And this could be a time where the job seeker is excited to share about the visual resume, or maybe they won't, maybe they don't want to share that. So just making sure you kind of review and check that the information that you plan to share is what the job seeker is comfortable with. And then just remind the job seeker that this process and the plan and meeting is for them, and to support them in helping them to go where their career makes sense. So this one is preparing for the meeting as the facilitator. And like for this course, there will, like, Tricia or we can help with facilitation if that's something that you want, but we also want you to kind of learn and experience this process, because I feel certain that you will do these meetings a lot in the future, even if you're not doing, maybe you're working with someone who's not doing full customized, but these meetings really are, there's a lot of benefits and value to it. So I think you'll find that they're helpful and good. And chances are that you've already done a meeting that's similar, but like I mentioned before, there are some specific strategies or tactics for this meeting. So we'd love for you guys to experience it and learn it. So just as a facilitator, you want to review and be clear about the vocational profile and the job seekers' conditions, interests, and potential contributions. You want to assist or take the lead in deciding who will be invited to attend. But so again, like make sure you're checking in with the job seeker, but you might recognize and identify individuals that would be helpful to be at this meeting. So yeah. And then make enough copies or email copies of the profile and the visual representation material ahead of time. That's really helpful for everyone participating. And then find a comfortable meeting space or arrange virtual space. I think in person is most ideal for sure, but there might be times when it's not possible, or there might be times where you have someone from the team that needs to join virtually. Maybe it's a family member who is very supportive um, and encouraging of employment, but they live far away, so it's not possible. And if the job seeker and the team member really want to participate, then I think it's appropriate to let them participate virtually. The this meeting, it can be done in a person's home, but just from my own experiences, I feel like again, you just really have to determine what makes sense for the job seeker, excuse me, and the rest of the team. But make sure that you can, you know, like share, like display information, and be able to write things down and make sure that people have a format to be engaged in. That's why I feel like in person is always ideal, because I think people talk more and share more when they are in person as opposed to um over Zoom. But really the setting, just any place that the job seeker and people can feel comfortable, but just be mindful of, you know, it's helpful to have like even a whiteboard or like some bigger paper that can be, I've done it before where we use like big sheets of paper that stick on the wall to kind of write things out, because there will be like writing and the capturing of ideas in this meeting. So it is important, but also you want to arrange for a co-facilitator to capture information, to write notes, to really kind of be that person that can write down all the information, whether it's through type or through like writing on the board, because it is difficult to do that, both when you're trying to you know, summarize the information from discovery and write at the same time. So if you can get somebody to co-facilitate with you, that's really great. And then it's helpful to prepare an agenda and the materials and share the purpose and the essence of the meeting. And then remind participants that if there are concerns, those concerns can be addressed prior or after this meeting. Do you guys have any questions at this point? Am I going too fast?
So this is right. I was just going to say, while you're kind of thinking through it, if this is something, as far as like co-facilitating that meeting, you can ask um, the VR counselor to kind of take some notes for you, or that's something that Kelie, like I think Kelie mentioned that at the beginning of that slide, that's something that we have helped with is, kind of taking those notes, acting as the co-facilitator and being kind of your support during the meeting. If you have somebody else on your team that's gone through the training or knows, what to do during the planning meeting, that can be helpful. It really is just about you focusing to get through the profile, sharing, the what you've learned so far, and then what the next steps are going to be. So it's just nice to have somebody to be able to capture that and who's going to do what next and those sorts of things. So just as you get closer to planning that getting a date for that planning meeting, if you'll let us know when that is, then we can either we can plan to be there, we can log in and share the screen and type the notes. That's there's lots of different ways that we can support you through that.
Yeah, thank you. And then, so who should be involved in this meeting? Obviously the job seeker, but then, just seeing what their preference is for being in a meeting that, is, about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And if someone just wants to come to a portion of it and they have some things that they really want to make sure is shared, but it's maybe they are not comfortable being in a meeting that long, they don't have to be there the whole time. That's certainly okay. And then family members who are dependent upon for support. That's important. If you know that family members will be assisting with transportation or just support in general, then it's important for family members to be their close friends, neighbors, or extended families. Again, it really, you don't want to invite just people that are not interested or supportive of employment. But really, ultimately, the priority should be who the job seeker is comfortable and wants to have attend. And then paid service professionals that have a close relationship with the job seeker and can be optimistic in their support of the job seeker to become employed. And then strive for a balance of both paid and unpaid support. An ideal group size is 6 to 9, just for effectiveness and efficiency, but more or less is okay. Just really what makes sense for the individual.
I don't think we've ever had the issue of too many people
Yeah,
in a planning meeting, unfortunately. I would love to battle that challenge.
I've been in one or two that have been pretty full, pretty robust, but I don't think it was ever more than like 9 people. It was 7 or 8. And then just some more about the facilitator's role. Your role is to act on behalf of the job seeker, and the meeting belongs to them. And so you might be speaking and again, sharing the information that has been discovered thus far, but it's about them, and it really makes sure to carve out whatever kind of involvement the job seeker would like to have in this meeting. And the facilitator's role is to direct attention of participants to key findings from the discovery process, and to really, this is an important one. The facilitator role kind of sets a prominent tone in the meeting. So it's important that they, try their best to create an optimistic view of possibilities and certainly of the job seeker and their strengths, their abilities, their contributions that you have um, uncovered and explored with them through discovery. And then just something to keep in mind, regularly frame suggestions back to the job seeker and refer to them. Again, this is so easy, and I've done it myself. We get in this mode of just kind of getting things done, and we forget to, when suggestions are made, to say, hey, Tricia, like, what do you think about this suggestion? Does that feel like something you want? Does that feel meaningful to you? And reference the vocational profile documents as a way to resolve conflict. So again, if suggestions are being made that just don't make sense, and that it's not what the job seeker has expressed to be meaningful to them, then it's good to kind of bring the suggestion back to the job seeker and go back to the vocational profile of like, well, this is like what we've uncovered through the discovery process. And then just like communicating with those that are invited to the meeting, that like this is the invited participants' role is bringing knowledge of the job seeker, connections and knowledge of the local community. They should be prepared to be optimistic regarding employment and have value for the job seeker making as many decisions as possible, and just have an understanding that this process is different. Suggestions are welcome, and even just prepare folks that even if their suggestions are not accepted, it should be expected that they will continue to participate and support the job seeker. Again, I've been in a couple of meetings where people that maybe haven't been as closely involved in the discovery process, they might come to the meeting with brand new ideas that don't fit or have not aligned with like the identified vocational themes, but they just have these ideas. And again, it's like we can hear those, but that doesn't mean that those suggestions are going to be accepted or like even explored very deeply within this meeting. And then just another reminder that concerns about barriers or challenges are they can be discussed prior to the meeting. So a little bit about the flow of the meeting. So this is just kind of like a rough timeline of what a meeting could look like. So introductions and establishing ground rules, that can be the first part and take about 5 minutes. And then facilitate what works and what doesn't work for the job seeker. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But it's an activity that can really kind of help generate discussion within this meeting. And then summarizing the ideal conditions, the interests, skills, and tasks connected to vocational themes, and then potential contributions and positive attributes. And that will like summarizing that, you can spend about 25 minutes. And again, these timelines, they're just suggestions to kind of keep a pace of the meeting, but don't feel like you have to hold fast to these timelines. And then kind of looking at potential task lists connected to the vocational themes, and then working on the list of 20 for the 3 different vocational themes, and then developing action plan or next steps is the last part of it. So this is just kind of starting to think about the social capital that exists within those that are there at this meeting and within the team. So the job seekers network team, the internal employment staff network, chambers and community groups, targeted use of social media, and then your own personal network. And I would say your own, like not just you, but the team's own personal social network is probably going to be the most, I don't know, like will help generate the most connections and ideas. So this is just some ideas of other times to pull the team together. So if there's a change or transition of staff, like within any of the roles of people that support the individual, or if someone did discovery and then someone new is starting job development, these team meetings can be very, very helpful to help inform the new staff who will be doing job development to kind of get all of the information, but also to see like who the support team is, who they can connect with as they're doing job development. And like I mentioned before, I've done some of these meetings after a home visit, and even after interviewing others, but before unfamiliar discovery activities take place. Sometimes it can be hard because you don't, as you guys have probably experienced, it's hard to think about really intentional and meaningful discovery activities. So it can be helpful to get the ideas of team members or people who know the job seeker well. We're kind of using this, and we're suggesting that you do this meeting at the conclusion of discovery, but before job development. But really, anytime there's a lull in job development, or when you feel like when key people are not on the same page, or they're struggling to have a vision for what employment could be for the individual. Sometimes these meetings can be helpful to just kind of re-explain the process of discovery and how it's different. Sometimes people get impatient and they're like, how come we don't have a job yet? Or my son or daughter doesn't have a job yet. So that's another time. It can happen just through conversation, but if you're just feeling like there's disconnect in general, then I would encourage pulling the team together, because it can be helpful just to review what's been done, and then review like what is still yet to come, that the steps that will still happen. So this is a little bit of guidance for setting ground rules for this meeting, just remind folks that paid customized employment is the goal. You might get suggestions for volunteering at different places, or hopefully not other types of employment that are not paid and employment in the community. But just kind of going back to this, that paid employment in the community that's customized to the individual is the goal. And this can be tricky because a lot of times people might have ideas or suggestions for employment that's not actually customized. And, you know, that's normal. We just kind of tend to go with, you know, what we've seen and what we envision because we've seen out in the community ourselves. Like, but we gotta remember and remind folks the difference between what is truly customized versus just traditional employment. And then
I was going to say, this kind of goes back to what you learned in the discovery process. And even though you're not going through every step of the discovery process and every activity, you have that evidence, right? That's the point of doing so much work, to say this is the direction that we're going and this is our evidence. And it's why we do this process differently. We're not saying that you know this person better than, you know, their mom or, you know, whoever that's in the meeting, but the work and the activities and all the things, the informational interviews, all of those things are kind of confirming this direction that you're going. And this meeting is kind of solidifying. You're getting people's input, but you've also done the work, right? And you should feel confident about the direction that you're going, and you're confirming that with this group of people who also know this person really, really well. And so, right, if you have all this evidence that says it really makes sense for this person to explore working with their hands and being outside, and you know maybe dad or an uncle comes to the meeting and they're really close to this person, but they have not been as involved. They're like, well, I've got an office job for them, and it's the first you've heard about it. And there's been no indication that that's something that makes sense for this person. How do you handle that, right? There's nothing in this that there's nothing that fit with the ideal conditions of employment. There's not related skills or tasks that have to do with office work. Uncle's just like, well, I'll give him a job. He's my nephew, and we're creating a hypothetical situation, but in that instance, right, family or other people might be like, oh, that's great, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't align with what you've learned. And so being confident in the process, the time that you've spent together, just keeping that in mind. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just want you to be prepared for some of those comments or ideas that don't align with what you've learned or discovered about this person. And people are trying to be helpful. They just don't always connect it to the process. So kind of setting these ground rules ahead of time, and even like copying and pasting these and putting this in the invite can be helpful, right? Like, just remember, this is what we're talking about. And I've heard people say, well, I don't even care if they get paid. I just want them to be happy. That's not an expectation for anybody but somebody with a disability. Again, I know it's not out of malice, but you don't say that to anybody else, right? And that's not something that VR funds, is getting paid in movie tickets or whatever. So that's what we're talking about, is paid employment. So you're helping people to have those higher expectations, and this is what we're doing. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Keep going, Cal.
No, that was so good, because it's good to discuss this because it can take you off guard if suggestions that do not align with what has been I learned in discovery are made, and then other people are like, oh, that sounds good. So yes,
I've
like,
had VR counselors do it
yeah,
and
or
derail. Like it can be really, really frustrating. And I'm not telling you this, we're not saying this to like make you feel afraid or get nervous about this meeting. It's to genuinely be prepared and be confident in the work that you're doing. And be ready for this meeting, because if you're not used to kind of running meetings or being the one that facilitates it can be a little overwhelming. So we're just trying to help you be as prepared as possible. Okay.
yeah, and to understand like the value of the prep work that should happen before the meeting. So like these ground rules, like like you have access to these slides and you can share these ground rules with all the folks that will be participating in the meeting beforehand. Because yes, I've had support coordinators just not even give bad suggestions, but come right in and like discourage employment, and it's really really hard to get back on track from that. So yeah, just we can't reiterate enough. um just kind of setting the expectation. This is to talk about employment, and this is to talk about um, what has been uncovered in the discovery process, and um, and it's not a time for shifting into a brand new direction that's never been considered before. Not that you want to, not hear people, but it we'll talk about some ways to kind of pull back to get back on track. Um, so yeah, just reminding folks through the ground rules that discovery process is different. We're looking beyond traditional jobs. We remain objective, and we're going to avoid the evaluation trap as we move through the process. Um, I've said this like 8 times already, but you want to remind folks that other non-related issues will be discussed at other times. And the meeting belongs to the job seeker, and therefore he or she must approve of all suggestions, and that folks, all participants, should frame suggestions to the job seeker. So this is, some ideas for dealing with conflict that might, it likely won't, but again, it's really good to be prepared. Um, Tricia and I are just telling you our worst scenarios. Um, so don't, your employment planning meetings, they're gonna go great, but just in case there is, some issues, we just want you to be prepared. So when there's conflict, you can refer to the ground rules that have already been shared and established. Um, and just remind folks that other issues will be discussed later. And this is, I feel like I keep saying this, but I do recognize that this is, um, it's difficult because you don't want folks to feel like you're just dismissing their concerns or their ideas, but in a gentle way. I think just saying, like, oh, it sounds like you have some ideas that are different from what we've kind of learned through the discovery process. Let's talk about that, like, at a like let's plan a time to talk about that. And they might want to talk about it then, but just say we're gonna stay on track with the um the vocational not profile that we've kind of we've developed from this process. And then just give clarity and purpose of the meeting, and then rely on the vocational profile for information. Remember that collaboration is not the same as brainstorming. A lot of work has already been done, so we're not looking to like explore brand new ideas. And I know that kind of sounds bad. Like we are brainstorming for businesses and connections that align with what has already been learned and kind of set as far as vocational themes. So that's where it's collaboration as opposed to brainstorming new themes or new directions that have not even been considered through the whole discovery process. Meet with your job seeker ahead of time and be prepared and confident in the process. And Tricia spoke to that very well. Is you can be confident in the work that you've already done, and just remind folks that we're gonna kind of adhere to what's already been mapped out. Expect some team members to have concerns and provide a space before or after the meeting to discuss. And then it's okay to take a quick break if you feel like you're losing focus or people are getting like irritated because maybe they feel like you're not jumping right on board with their brand new suggestion, or the uncle who's proposing employment in a place that doesn't make sense for the job seeker. So we're going to talk a little bit about the what works and what doesn't work activity. And I probably should reorder this slide because I should probably show you what it is first. But this activity does invite participation and establishes the value of the job seeker having final approval, and then it starts to focus the group on the job seeker. And this activity really can be done and relate to any aspect of the job seeker's life, not just employment, but during this meeting, it will be specific to employment. So the activity is really just kind of discussing and writing out like what works for the job seeker and what doesn't work. These are just some like examples to kind of show you. But I feel like this activity, I've done it before, and it really does kind of help like guide good conversation, and again help the job seeker have final say in like the direction that employment is going. So like these are just examples, but what works is having flexibility, having their own work area, time inside and outside, occasional social time with colleagues, and then having clear expectations, and then mapping out what doesn't work. So wearing formal clothes, sharing personal items, only doing work on the computer, or only working alone. And you're gonna already know a lot of this information. It's not like it's gonna be all that brand new, but the activity of kind of listing it out in two different columns with the team there and the job seeker is very helpful. And again, these are simply this is just simply a sample for you guys. It's all like what works and doesn't work is going to be very individualized to the job seeker. Any other, like, do you have any other thoughts about, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, because you're just thinking about like the supports the conditions, the tasks, and the environment of a potential job. And so as you move into job development, you want to be very clear on like what is acceptable and what is unacceptable to the job seeker.
It really, and you probably already know these things, and so might the other people in the room, but it's a really nice way to get people focused on the job seeker, um, and just kind of get the meeting framed in the right way. Um, so I think that can be it's really just kind of a nice way to get people thinking in the direction that you want them to be.
And I feel like the visualization of it, like the like having it written where people see it is helpful. Like, and again, you've likely been doing a lot, well, you have been doing a lot more concentrated work. So even if somebody knows the job seeker well and knows this, like you have it, you likely have it more in the forefront of your mind. So helping to bring it to people's mind through having it like visually laid out for them is helpful. So then you use time and the knowledge and information of the team to develop task lists associated with the vocational themes. So you start by listing the 3 vocational themes that have been identified, and then from the profile, develop a task list for each vocational theme with the strongest skills listed first and the task the job seeker prefers and wants to perform. And you want to develop like 8 to 12 tasks for each theme. And this can include like tasks that are still being learned and developed. So they're kind of like potential tasks, but tasks that you and the job seeker feel confident that it's within their ability and interest. So this is just an example. So if you have the theme of culinary, then you would list out multiple tasks that, again, they don't have to be like set in stone, and the job seeker doesn't even have to yet be fully proficient in. It's more of like, are they willing, do they have an interest? Does this fit within their wheelhouse? Does that make sense? And then this is where you kind of really start jumping into the list of 20 places where people with similar vocational themes where they work and the business is connected. And remember to mine supply chains. So not thinking about not just like the businesses, but where does that business get their resources and supplies, and could that be pursued? So
Right, or who are their customers?
right.
Who else who else would you be connected to by talking with a guitar store, like a guitar distributor? Like who else is going there that you might talk to? Is it a teacher? Is it I don't know. Think about all of the businesses or the commerce around, a guitar retailer. Are they offering lessons? Are they, restringing guitars? Are they fixing them? Are they just selling them? I don't know all of the things because I'm not an instrument person, but somebody else might be.
Yeah, so really you make 3 columns, you have the 3 themes, and then as a team, you start talking about businesses and potential contacts and who the team knows in relation to those businesses. So this is where it gets tough because you're gonna get suggestions for a lot of box stores and a lot of like more retail businesses, but you want to really try to prioritize where someone within the team has like a personal connection, like if they know someone that works there, or they know the owner, or they know someone, like it can kind of scale back as needed, like maybe they just know somebody who frequents that business often. But writing out all of that information, and the more detail you can give, the more helpful it's going to be for you. So, like, I don't know, just if somebody, right, if there's like culinary, or some gigi is listed, but do you know somebody that works there, or is a supplier there, or teaches classes there, all of those things. So if someone, if you do, then definitely, write down who the contact is and who the team member is who has that contact. These lists of 20, like, I think people get kind of intimidated by them, but they're, especially with a team, they're I don't feel like they're as complicated as they initially feel. I don't know, like sometimes depending on the theme and the community, it can be tough, but I think you'll be surprised as to how many connections exist within the team. And likely you're going to have team members that say, well, I don't have a connection, but my cousin does. So that's good. You want to write down the cousin, say, hey, could we call your cousin? Would your cousin be willing to connect us? Okay, so this is just a little more on like developing an action plan. So you want to address next steps of the process, beginning, because it's the beginning of the customized job development plan, and review and finish the plan and share assignments with participants within 1 week of the meeting. And then you can also respond to any non-related issues that were identified during the team planning meeting, and start developing a calendar for job development activities. But that list of 20, and the what works and what does not work, that's really gonna kind of be your guide for the next steps. So also refine the list of 20 and confirm connections. So within the meeting, you might, I don't know, write down like I feel like towards the end of the list of 20, then it might start getting a little less artisanal. Like you might start thinking, like you might be tapped out of ideas, and people might start thinking of like, Walmart and things like that. So I don't know, just Tricia, what do you think? Like, I don't think that it's even worth listing if you just are certain that that's not something you're going to pursue. So I'd rather have like an incomplete list of 20 rather
Yep.
than like a completed list, but towards the
Well, and
end.
especially at this point with the planning meeting, right? You are not in job development yet. And you don't need to have all of the lists completed. And in fact, you want to have some of those not complete so that you can get buy-in and you can get it you could you want input from the team, right? If you have all of it completed, that says I don't really need your input. Um, if you have, 5 or 6 in each category, it gives them an idea of the businesses or the places that you're thinking about, and it'll prompt hopefully, oh, well, I don't know anybody at so and so's grooming, but I do know I take my dogs here, um, and I have a relationship with them. Great, let's write that down. And who's the person that we would contact and say, oh, I know Joe's dad. Joe's dad told me to call you. They bring their dogs in every 6 weeks or whatever. Or maybe they would even call or text and say, hey, Jory's going to call you. They just want to learn more about the grooming business, or anyway, whatever it is. It kind of sends that message that I need everybody's input here. And you want to even say, we're thinking about, we want small places where we can talk to the owner or somebody who makes decisions, right? It doesn't mean that if somebody is just working there, that's still okay, right? That's a personal connection, that will, you can still follow up with, even if they're not a decision maker. Hopefully that person, would say, oh yeah, we can talk. I'd be happy to talk to the manager, or you. It's something to follow up on, right? But yeah, I don't just be throwing things up there like Walmart or what you might say if somebody says a bigger box store where there's not an opportunity to customize or create or negotiate something. You can say, well, I can see why you're thinking about Walmart, right? There's lots of retail, or there's lots of opportunities for socializing there. Where's a smaller place or somewhere, you might like kind of take that and then reframe it, pulling out some of those places. Or you might say, what is it about Walmart that you were thinking of made sense for this person? Just kind of ask them that. Well, I don't know, because it's close, or we go to Walmart, and that's perfectly fine. You just want to ask a few more questions, right? Um, is that helpful, Cal?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, and that's some good, I like how you phrased those, like that's a good way to kind of ask some questions that it's not like you're dismissing and saying, no, we're not exploring Walmart, but you're just saying like, tell me why you think, what is it about that setting that you think, um, is good, or, um, yeah. And then, so this is kind of like more after the meeting, like well, not necessarily after, but like you can refine the visual resume and vocational profile based on any additional information that you gained in the planning meeting. And then you can contact participants who offer connections from specific employers. And then as you're developing an action plan, remember that part of a plan for customized job development um, could include the need for additional life skills development, or the consideration of assistive technology, or benefits planning in order to achieve customized, competitive, integrated employment. So just think about those things as you're launching into job development. Is there any, additional skill development or technology support that is really going to assist the job seeker as we start to pursue job development? I think especially like the consideration of assistive technology, now that you have like the vocational themes identified, and you're really just starting to kind of think more logistically about jobs, that is a good time to consider any assistive technology that might support the job seeker to do and be at their best. Oh, is that the last one? That's
That is.
Oh, okay.
And then we go, if we go into the Padlet, we've got like that whole sample of the customized employment planning template meeting, like kind of the meeting, like the working agenda and document that they can use for their action plan. So let me do that. Let me pull it up real quick,
Thank you for putting up with my dry voice.
What are you talking about?
I didn't get enough water in me this morning.
Having issues with sharing for some reason. You share. It doesn't like my desktop. Okay, there we go. You see that now?
Tablet now, yeah.
Okay. So in the Padlet, we have the PowerPoint, need to update that one. But it's in forms and processes, forms and process resources. There is this customized employment planning meeting document. It's right here, and I can email it to you too. What we put together was just kind of this Word document that basically, and you don't have to use this, that just gives you this working agenda. It has the ground rules that we talked about. It has a way for you to capture all of the team members that attend the customized employment planning meeting and what their role is in the job seeker's life. So you would put yourself, whoever attends, right? You would put in the job seeker's name wherever. Here's the what works and what doesn't activity. Here's your agenda, or where you will present the profile. Again, you don't have to go through the whole staging record. I've supported some people in their planning meeting, and they have just gone through it, the staging record phase by phase. It's not that it's bad. I just think you can make better use of your time. Than that, I think you can just summarize it, share the profile, share the resume if you have that completed. Again, that is something that you really want to use in job development. So I think it's nice to get feedback from the team But if for some reason, by the time you have that planning meeting, you're not quite there with the visual resume, that is okay. It is a job development activity. We would like to see it. It's just kind of part of knowing that that's something that you're comfortable doing and that you're confident and competent in doing. You want to confirm those vocational themes, so you would put those here, and this is where you're going to like identify the tasks that go with those themes, right? This helps us keep away from people jumping to the job when we're talking about the vocational themes. It helps you help them think about the tasks that somebody can do in relation to the themes instead of jumping to the job. It really does help, trust me. And then this would be where you copy and paste some of your list of 20, or you could just pull it out of the profile. You could just pull out the profile or share that part of it if you don't want to cut and paste it in here. And then this is where your action plan might be. And so, right, these are just some examples of things that you might, that might be in there, right, that were also in the PowerPoint, like we're gonna refine the list of 20, or, you know, we're gonna actually get some life skills hours to work on these things. They really want to, you know, have an opportunity to practice more welding, and then we're gonna go see if we can find an apprenticeship, or, you know, whatever it is. You know, we worked with somebody who her assistive technology is just not functional. So that's kind of, we're kind of on pause to figure all of that stuff out. And that's kind of a big action item that we're still working through. And so we, as a team, we're meeting regularly to work through that. If somebody is going into self-employment, that might be what a series of action steps, like exploring what that looks like. You know, what other kind of supports do we need? Who else do we need to get involved? Right. And that's where you're going to identify some of those pieces in these simple, you know, in this simple little chart. We kept it very simple so that you can modify it however you want. But this is, right, this is to fidelity that you held this planning meeting, that there were some follow-up items, it's connected to the staging record, and it's carrying you into job development. And so you, whoever you have help facilitate with you, can help complete this and then send it in with your, you know, profile and all those documents to the VR counselor, so that you've got this evidence of holding the planning meeting, and that, you know, that documentation that you'll need. So it's why we created this template, just so that you have the documentation that's required or expected for the planning meeting. But again, if you have a template that you like better, go for it. But you're welcome to use that. What else do we have in here? You've got this task list. I don't think we did. Did we do guidance for the planning meeting? I don't know that we did.
I don't think we have one.
No, I think we just did the action plan, and then we had the PowerPoint. And then this task list is another thing. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yeah, but can you make it a little bigger? Like,
Yeah.
because it's like not full screen. We can see the tab, but it's more like I can there. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is another document that you have in there that if you're a checklist person, and you want to know, did I do all the things in each of the stages or the phases? This is for you. This little checklist of all the things that you are supposed to be doing. You've got this too. It's just another way to just get through each of the pieces. Does anybody have trouble accessing the Padlet, or printing if you're a person that likes to print things. Everybody know how to download?
I've
Or
I've had some trouble once in a while,
okay,
but just depends on the document. But
okay.
it's
So if you want to print something, you just click on these three dots and then you can download attachment. That's probably what you want to do the most, right? Is just
yeah.
download it and then you can print it or do whatever you want. Or if you really just want me to email it to you, let me know and I'm happy to do that too. Okay.
Yeah, even from this view of the Padlet, each of the documents, they all have like the little tiny three dots in the corner. If you click there, that also gives you the, like, without opening it fully, it gives you the option to download.
Okay. So you're all, you got some time before before your planning meeting. Hopefully you're starting to schedule those. Again, it's once you're done with the staging record and you've summarized the profile, what we would like to do is schedule just some individual time with each of you, pull up your staging record, just kind of go over it. And several of you have been just sending them as you're working through, which is awesome. But just kind of that one-on-one review where we go through it, just kind of make sure we've got all the pieces we need to, and then even kind of set a target date, like I would like to be through by this time. And if we need to change that, that's fine. And maybe even give the VR counselor, a heads up. Hey, I think I'm planning on being done or wrapping up discovery by this time. We'd like to schedule the planning meeting, sometime during this last week of May, whatever the date is that you're thinking, so that the VR counselor can be finding those dates. You're starting to get, thinking about that with the team. And I think having that date helps you also, right, stay on track, and, keep those timelines moving forward. So, Kelie and I will be reaching out to you to just kind of schedule those one-on-ones over this next little bit. We do have one more learning session that focuses on customized job development, and that is scheduled for May 7th. So you have some more time between now and then to, keep working through the process. Anyway, and so we'll be doing our meeting with you between now and then. And again, we're more than happy to come and spend time with you in person. Whether it's doing an informational interview or a discovery activity or whatever you need, we're happy to do that. But look for an email from us to schedule a one-on-one with you. And we want to make it work for you on your time. So, Kel, was there anything else? I think
No, but
okay.
I'm just curious, like, do you guys have any, like, questions or concerns about the employment planning meeting? Does it feel like something, I mean, like, what are your feelings about it? Does it feel like I know that it'll be something helpful to you, but I'm just curious, like, how are you guys feeling about it at this point?
I can tell you, for me, this whole thing is just confusing. So I just feel lost with it all of them. So
Well, let's schedule some time. Jory,
Jory, I had some information for you if you want to give me your phone number.
yeah, I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay.
what parts are feeling confusing for you, Jory?
I just really where to go from here. Like because some of this was already done for me, right? So I kind of took it over. So and then just trying to identify just kind of backing up, identifying, some of the activities, finding the discovery stuff. But then really where I need to go from here, given kind of the circumstances. So, and getting
And yours,
prepared for all this stuff.
well, and I appreciate you being right, just kind of candid, like there's some things that are difficult, and I see that. So I'm happy to help you through it. So you work with her on Thursdays? That's when you typically.
Yeah, typically, that's usually the Thursday evenings is when I can get down there.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to do some stuff with her up at Nestor in the week, but that's just useless time. They're not doing anything. So
Where
yeah,
are you at?
I honestly, I thought they did a lot more activities there.
Right.
Where is
I
she located?
wonder.
What's that?
Where's she located at?
She's in Bountiful.
Bountiful. Okay.
I have something this coming Thursday, but I think.
Well, and I can adjust that. It's just typically that's usually with my calendar where it fits in for her because I'll usually try to meet her when she gets home from Ness.
Okay, so the next Thursday is the 18th.
Yeah, the like I said with her, it's really weird. Her weeks are so scheduled. They have like Wednesday's their craft day, and I think Friday she does the group home meeting, whatever it's called, the family stuff that they just do as part of the little
Like
building
family
there. I
meet-
don't know. So she
family
goes up and just meets with all the other residents. But it just seems when I talk to her about that stuff, it's stuff that she's being told that here's what we're doing today, and a lot of it's driven by Wendy, so.
I'm curious to think about, like, not just for like her, but for other people that support her. Like, if it sounds like her time is pretty scheduled, so how is employment going to fit into that?
Yeah.
Are other people who are supporting her, are they like open to adjusting?
Well, and I think this is just more of, these are the things we do on these days as activities just to do. So it's not like, that they can adjust, as far as that goes. It's just more of, hey, let's just not sit on the couch and watch TV every night,
Sure. Okay, well, that's good. I'm sure they will. I'm hoping that they will be very supportive and.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's schedule some time. If you have any, that's even right. That's even if it's like not when you're
Meeting with
scheduled
her.
to meet with her, that we could kind of go through what you've got. I'm writing your phone number down too, just so I have it.
Okay.
Can I text you? Is that number okay to text?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. And let's come up with some ideas. Kind of see where you're at.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I need right now is, okay, let's, this next step here's what we want, kind of accomplish in this next little piece, and then kind of continue on, because like I said, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want you to feel frustrated, and okay, I'll follow up with you, and we'll get some time scheduled and just kind of go through what you've got. Are you doing the staging record in Google Doc or just on like in Word?
I just have it in Word. I know,
Okay.
I think, and a lot of it I'm just writing down because I just have a copy in our file. But,
Okay.
I think you guys have the shared documents that probably it's
Okay.
better to update there, right?
We can, and we could just do it together. I mean, if you
Okay.
want, I can even come up and if you've got your notes, we can, kind of add to it. Whatever is helpful
Okay,
for you.
sounds good.
So I'll give you a call and we can figure it out what, like this is the most helpful for me. We could do it over the virtually. I can come up to the office, whatever is helpful to you.
Okay, yeah, give me a call. We'll figure that out then,
Okay,
for sure.
sounds good. Kellyanne, you're feeling good about where you're at with your job seeker? I know you've been really great about sending in your updates and
So far, yeah. Again, I've been with this person way before I started taking this course, so
right.
I've kind of gathered past information and current. But the authorization officially ends in June, so I kind of put that down as my timeline of finished with
Perfect.
that aspect of course, and then we'll move on to jobs for her later.
Okay.
But so far, I think I'm okay based on the feedback I got from Kelie. Yeah, I'm not sure how else what else
Okay.
to say. I think I'm doing okay so far.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, and Tony, I think we have not rescheduled, but I know where you are at pretty well.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and we will see you all individually and then together a little over a month. So thanks everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.